The economy is always listed as the most important subject for many voters. If you were in Congress, what would you do to try to improve the economy, and what could you do as a congressional representative to ensure that people here in the 1st District have access to plentiful, good-paying jobs?
Well, I think education is the master key to economic development in the 1st District. In my own industry, the HVAC industry, there's literally 1 million unfilled jobs right now. You just can't find good technicians, and that's true in a lot of industries. And I think by increasing educational opportunity, we can give people the opportunity to find work. I mean, the work's out there. The employers want the people. The people don't have the training, and it's across a broad spectrum of industries. I mean, I'm familiar with the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning industry because I'm an HVAC engineer, and you just can't find help. I mean, there's just a critical shortage of technicians, and part of that is a lack of educational opportunities to advance. And I think that's an important. That's, like I say, it's the master key to unlocking the potential of the 1st District, or anywhere for that matter. I mean, but we have a pretty good workforce here already, and we have a lot of industry, but we're not going to be able to attract new industry if we don't have the technical expertise that will be required.
What is the best way legislatively to prevent gun violence, and specifically school shootings and mass shootings?
You know, if you're going to have an open society where everyone's toting a gun, people are going to get shot. And I don't know what the solution to that is. Certainly mental health services would probably be helpful. There's just a lot of crazy people in the world, and you got a lot of crazy people and a lot of guns. Bad things happen. And legislatively, I can't tell you the answer to that question. I mean, certainly it's certainly something to ponder and work on. The Second Amendment is big in East Tennessee. I mean, people don't want you messing with their guns, and if you're gonna run your society like that, there's going to be consequences. And I'm a big on the Second Amendment. I mean, I think if you're a responsible gun owner, you're entitled to have a gun, and it's just hard to weed out who's going to be responsible, who's going to go off the handle because their wife divorced them or they got fired from their job, or it's just something that's going to is very difficult to regulate, and a lot of people want to restrict gun access. I don't think that's the answer. Certainly, like I said, increased mental health services and opportunity. I think it all goes back to opportunity. I think a lot of people are just despondent because they don't have the opportunity to advance, and that goes back to education again.
What is your plan for fixing America's immigration problem?
Well, I believe in a merit-based immigration system, or at least we should have components of merit-based immigration, and enforce it. We secure the borders, which I think we're on our way to doing that, and we have a lot of laws in place already that dictate how many people we're going to let in and whatnot. But if you look at other countries like Australia and New Zealand, and they have merit-based systems where people get in based on the needs of the country and not just kind of a free-for-all across the border. I think that's been problematic, and a lot of people liked it for a lot of different reasons, but we need to secure our borders and we need to enforce our laws. And I think we potentially should change some of those laws as well.
How important is it to not increase the national debt and to balance the annual budget?
It's critical. I mean, the country's been bankrupt for 10 years. I mean, what is it, 26 million we hit, or 25 million here lately? And the last time I calculated it, like 18 million, that was like 150,000 for every man, woman, and child in the country. I don't know about you, but that's a debt I'll never be able to chip in for. What's going on? We seem to be defying gravity, and the Fed prints more money. There's going to be there should have been consequences. I mean, if you look at the Keynesian economics, I mean, we should have been the Weimar Republic by now, but somehow or another we just keep defying gravity, and at some point gravity is going to catch up to us. And I think it's critical you know, I don't know what the solution's going to be to that, because we're already at the point of no return. I mean, $26 trillion, 25, I'm not sure exactly what it is now, and counting, and no brakes seem to be, I mean, it's like we're hitting the accelerator, not the brakes. We should have been, you know, I mean, they're tough decisions that have to be made. We're in an emergency situation, I get that, but it's just like, I don't, you know, I think the one solution, one proposal that I would make is, for one thing, the Fed is unconstitutional, okay? So get the Fed to print enough money to buy up all the debt, bankrupt the Fed, and then bring the money back, bring the control of the money supply back to the people, to the government, where it should be constitutionally, you know, instead of in the hands of private bankers. We're going to have to come up with some kind of sleight of hand like that. I mean, they're talking about printing trillion-dollar coins and paying it off with that, or $1 worth of dime and figure it out how to pay it off with that. I mean, there's all these out-of-the-box solutions. We're going to have to come up with one, because frankly, I don't see paying it back as viable. I mean, I don't have my, well, it was like 120,000 at 18 trillion, so, you know, what is it now? Like 165, I mean, I do the math, you know what I'm saying? It's just for every man, woman, and child in the country, okay? Where's that money going to come from? I don't see us, it's a hole we can't claw out of, and we're just going to have to come up with some kind of an innovative solution. Hopefully it's not bankrupting the country. I mean, the full good faith of the United States used to mean, you know, still means something. If we go bankrupt, it'll mean nothing. So I don't know what the answer is at this point. That's just we're just kind of brainstorming here. So,
what, if anything, do you think President Trump could have done better in his handling of COVID-19?
Could have been a little bit more consistent in his messaging. I mean, there's been a lot of inconsistency in his messaging. It just seemed to kind of flip-flop a little bit. You know, the COVID-19 thing is a very complicated issue, and I'm not a health, you know, what do you call it, transmittable disease expert, okay? But, you know, there seems to be a lot of conflicting information out there. I mean, not just from the president, but from the press. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear a mask. It's just like the common cold. No, it's not. It's going to kill you. I mean, there's all these mixed messaging. So it's hard to tell. You don't know who to believe. I mean, when you listen to the different medias that are out there, you get these conflicting stories. It's like, I like this guy, should I believe him? Or I like this guy, should I believe him? Who do you believe? I mean, you know, you have to use the data, analyze the data to come up with a good analysis, and then make decisions based on that analysis. And, you know, they have an old saying in computer, garbage in, garbage out. And, you know, until you get the good data, I mean, I've done a lot of reading on this myself, and there is good data out there, but it's not necessarily flowing through the mainstream media. And like I said, a lot of, one news outlet says, oh, it's no big deal, you know, go back to work. And the other says, you know, we can't do this. So it's a tough decision on who to believe. But the government, you know, can't mitigate all risk in life. You know, life is risky. Walking across the street is risky. Are you going to, you know, parachuting is risky. Are we going to, we're going to make parachuting illegal or scuba diving illegal because it's risky? Now it's riskier to go outside, so we can't go outside. I mean, I don't know. It's, like I said, it's a complicated issue, and you know, we just. I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I mean, I wish I had a good answer. You know what I'm saying?
Do you believe climate change is real, and if so, what do you think is the best approach to combat it?
Okay, this is something that I've studied. I've actually read peer-reviewed papers on this. I have friends that are scientists at NASA. I worked at NASA for 5 years, and global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it, we're changing the chemistry of this planet at an alarming rate, okay? And yes, it's real. Now, I think we should we should have free market solutions to it. I don't think it's up to the government to tell us how to fix this problem, but it's certainly up to the government to lead the way towards renewable energy and just doing things. I mean, we're rolling stuff back. I'll tell you what, when I graduated grade school, from Pi Beta Phi Elementary in Gatlinburg, okay? And I was chosen as one of 2 outstanding science students in the 8th grade to represent the school at a science symposium at Oak Ridge National Laboratories. And this was in 1971 or something like that, 72. And one of the things that was really big back then was acid rain. And that was what I chose to go to in the symposium, was to learn about acid rain, because it was killing the forests and it was killing the streams and the lakes. I mean, it was killing the fish. So, you know, Nixon starts the EPA. A Republican started the EPA, and they cracked down on the emissions, the sulfur dioxide and nitric oxide emissions, and the acid rain problem, I don't think it's gone away completely, but it's certainly been mitigated since I was a kid. And now we're talking about rolling those things back. I mean, you can't eat tuna more than 3 times a week because there's so much mercury in it, and we want to roll back the mercury standards. I mean, I'm all for cutting government regulations, and I could list some onerous government regulations out there, but the clean air standard's not one of them. And that's how I feel about it. So,
if you were elected to Congress, what would you do to address the racial tension that's evident in the recent protests, and how would you try to improve race relations here in the 1st District?
Okay, well, the first thing we need to do is stop vilifying people that we disagree with. All right, there's no excuse for rioting and looting and whatnot. And you know, when the looting starts, maybe the shooting should start. But putting that aside, most of these demonstrations are peaceful. Some people have legitimate grievances on how law enforcement is administered in their area, and they have a First Amendment right to protest that, and they shouldn't be vilified for it. You know, we need to listen to people. That's the problem nowadays. Nobody wants to listen to what the other guy has to say. They have a preconceived notion about people that disagree with them. They're one side or the other is constantly vilifying the other and berating them, and we've lost civility. And I mean, I'm not talking about political correctness. You can be as rude as you want, but you shouldn't dehumanize people that you disagree with. And there's a lot of that going on in the media and amongst a lot of our leadership, and I think it's problematic, and it's something that I will not participate in.
Do you support a regional economic development effort that could involve integrating and merging economic development organizations such as networks in Sullivan County, NetRep, and Carter, Washington, Unicoi, and even maybe chambers of commerce in the Tri-Cities? And if so, what role should Congress take, a congressperson take?
Well, as the representative, you can work to coordinate that. You can certainly provide resources. One thing I would do, if elected, is have on staff several grant writing experts who can help local municipalities, economic development councils, and school boards identify federal grants and apply for them. I mean, there's lots of grants out there for education grants for teachers, and the average elementary school teacher, she doesn't know that grant's available to her. She doesn't know how to write that grant, and the Congressional office could provide a resource for them to go to, you know, we could make lists of the grants that are available and distribute them. There's just all kinds. It's about communications. I was a radio man in the Coast Guard, okay, and I joined when I was 17 years old. And one of the first things I learned was the importance of good communications for any operation. And what we have right now is a failure to communicate in this country because we don't listen to people we disagree with. And you know, I'm generalizing, of course, but I think that's the big issue. We tend to vilify the people that, you know, we disagree with, and then we just. This campaign has been extremely enlightening to me personally. I've never been in politics. I'm a mechanical engineer, okay? And that's not really a people person kind of occupation, you know? But, you know, getting out and talking to literally hundreds, maybe a couple thousand people, and getting just the sentiment that's out there and the belief systems that exist that are in a lot of cases just not correct. You know, people believe a lot of stuff that I don't, you know, that's not correct. And it's because they're constantly being fed this vitriol through the news media, and then it gets amplified through social media. It's problematic. And It's until we just start listening to people that we disagree with and start trying to find the things that we have in common. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. I mean, Jesus tells us to love our enemies. That's pretty tough order, but it's a real one. And if we don't start doing it, we're going to be in trouble.
Is there any approach that President Trump has taken to his job that you would have done differently?
Yeah. Oh, that's a gotcha question. It's a tough job, all right, and unless you walk a mile in his shoes, it's pretty hard to say. Certainly, a little bit more consistency in his messaging, I think, would be appropriate. He has tended to flip-flop on things, if you will, for lack of a better terminology. I support the president's agenda on decreasing the size of the federal government, but a lot of these things need to be done with precision. And I mean, it's like a scalpel versus a meat cleaver. And we've got to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the Clean Air Standards is a good example of that. I mean, okay, that might create a few jobs short-term wise, but then in a few years when the acid rain starts coming down and there's no fish to catch, what happens to the fisheries industry? Or, when 10,000 more people get asthma every year, there's a penalty to pay. There's always, it's a complex system, and when you move something here, you cause something to change over here. They're just very complicated systems, and they have to be tweaked with care. And I think the meat cleaver approach is, maybe we need to tear it all down and build it back up again. I'm not sure. So.
All right, last question.
Okay.
Not a gotcha question. In fact, this is the moment for you to speak to voters. What makes you the best person to represent them?
Well, I'm an outsider, okay, and I'm a true outsider. I mean, I've never been in politics before. I've worked for the federal government. I have military experience. I have a highly technical degree. I mean, I think a lot of technical decisions are being made these days by non-technical people. Okay, and they don't always listen to the experts, and they don't really have the problem-solving skills, I think, that's necessary to really analyze some of these problems and make the good decisions. I mean, things like privacy on the internet and net neutrality, and these things are just incredibly complex problems, and they require complex solutions sometimes. I had a boss one time that I did a lot of different projects for, and I've always prided myself as an engineer on coming up with simple, elegant solutions to problems. But the problem with that is it's really hard to do, and then when you're done, it looks so simple. Your boss is like, well, that's simple. What took you so long? Okay, well, getting it to that point is what takes the time. These things need to be analyzed, and I think the thing that I bring to the table as a experienced professional, honesty. I have honesty and integrity, intellectual and personal integrity are paramount, and there seems to be a shortage of it in the government nowadays. And certainly my technical expertise and my leadership experience in the past, and my status as an outsider. I'm not beholden to anybody. I ran my campaign was 97% self-funded. I had a few donations from unsolicited donations from friends and family. I came up with a plan to, and then the COVID came along and just killed it. So, but it's, we need more citizen legislators and fewer career politicians. I'm an advocate for term limits and campaign finance reform. It's become a money racket. I mean, just look at all the money that we're going to be like $10 billion spent on this campaign. It's unnecessary. We could spend that money on a lot better things, and we could easily set up a forum where people bring their ideas to the marketplace of ideas, and the voters decide who to pick. But now it's just this. Our government's for sale to the highest bidder. I mean, you look at who the leaders in the polls are now. They're the people that spent the money, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've spent $6,000 on this campaign. I had an old camper I made a rolling billboard out of. I printed out, these things cost me 4 cents a piece, $0.015 worth of paper and 2.5 cents worth of ink. And my plan was to distribute 1,000 of them in every county and hope for a viral infill, okay? That didn't happen for a lot of different reasons, okay? But you know, there are innovative ways to run our elections that would get the money out of it, that would get the ideas back into it, and we could attract more people. I mean, people just don't want to get into it for that reason. I mean, it's one of the reasons I did this was to try to demonstrate that it could be done. Well, perhaps I've demonstrated that it can't be done. I don't know, but I'll use the COVID as an excuse. I mean, we had a plan laid out. We had all the Ruritans. I mean, all the places we were going to visit, the Chamber of Commerce. We had a complete schedule, and it just all went in the trash because all these meetings got canceled. So so I've been out literally on the side of the road holding meet and greets and going to the flea markets, passing out my campaign bulletins, or as my wife calls it, my candidate manifestos. But it's been an interesting experience. I'm glad I did it. I'm probably going, who knows what the end result is going to be. We're as optimistic as we can be, and I just hope there's 15 people on the ballot, and there's some good choices there. Besides myself, I personally think I'm the best choice, but there are some other good choices, and I hope one of the better choices gets made. If it's not me, I mean, I hope it's me. So I'm working on it.
All right. Carter Quillen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you having me.
I hope you have a good rest of your day and week.